Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how a man starts to act a little different when you stop chasing him? When you stop calling, texting, and begging for his attention? It's like something clicks in his mind and suddenly he starts missing you. And you're probably wondering, why now? Well, let me tell you, there's something powerful that happens when you stop giving him everything and start focusing on yourself. When you start living your life, when he sees you moving forward without him, that's when the tables turn. So stay with me, because I'm about to break down exactly why men miss you more when they realize they might lose you for good. Men start missing you more when they realize you've stopped chasing them. This is a critical moment in any relationship because it shifts the power dynamic. Often, when we're in a relationship or even just in the early stages of dating, it's easy to get caught up in chasing the other person. You put in all the effort, constantly texting, calling, and trying to make them happy. You try to make them feel special, important, and valued. But the reality is, when you're doing all of the chasing, you're the one putting in all the emotional energy. And they're the ones who get to sit back and feel pursued. Now, here's the catch. When you stop chasing, when you stop being the one who is always reaching out and instead focus on living your own life, it creates a sense of mystery. It's not that you've lost interest, but you've finally realized your worth and you're no longer willing to put in all the effort for someone who isn't matching your energy. This sudden shift in your behavior, this change in how you interact with them, makes them sit up and take notice. It triggers something deep within them, a feeling they may not have recognized before. When you stop chasing, something happens. You go from being an option to becoming a priority. The roles reverse. They start to wonder where you've gone, what you're up to, and why you're no longer the one who's always at their beck and call. And this is when they begin to miss you. They begin to miss the constant attention and the effort you put into the relationship. They start to feel like they've lost something important. In other words, your absence makes them realize the value of your presence. You've stopped giving them the thing they took for granted. And now they have to face the reality that maybe, just maybe, they didn't appreciate you enough when you were always around. This is powerful because it forces them to think about what they've lost, not just physically, but emotionally. They start to feel the void. It's like a light bulb goes off in their mind, and they begin to realize how much they enjoyed the attention, the connection, and the emotional support you brought into their lives. And while you may have been the one putting in all the work before, now they have to put in the effort if they want to keep you. This shift is significant. It's not just about playing games or pretending you don't care. It's about respecting yourself enough to stop putting yourself in a position where you're always the one giving and never receiving the same level of energy. When you stop chasing, it tells them that you're not just sitting around waiting for them to come around. It shows them that you have a life to live with or without them. And that's a powerful message. It's a message that says, I'm valuable. I'm worth the effort. And if you want me in your life, you have to prove that you're worth my time. What's interesting about this shift is that it doesn't just make them miss you. It makes them reflect on their actions. They begin to ask themselves questions like, why did she stop texting me? Why isn't she reaching out anymore? What did I do to make her stop trying? It forces them to take a hard look at how they treated you, and sometimes that realization hits them harder than they expect. They start to feel a little bit of guilt, a little bit of regret for not being more present when you were doing all the chasing. And this is where the emotional impact really starts to set in. This process is not just about them wanting to get back together or rekindle the romance. It's about them realizing that the effort you were putting in was valuable. It's about them understanding that you were a constant presence. And now, without you actively pursuing them, they feel the absence in their lives. The longing begins to set in, and the more they miss you, the more they start to understand that they might have taken you for granted. It's also important to understand that this shift isn't a way to manipulate or play games with someone. It's simply a way for you to reclaim your own power. When you stop chasing, it's not just about the man missing you. It's about you finally showing him that you have boundaries and that you're not going to settle for being the one doing all the work. It's a healthy way of taking control of the situation and putting the ball back in his court. In the end, when you stop chasing, it's like a wake-up call for him. He realizes that you were someone worth chasing, and now he has to put in the effort to win you back. The absence of your constant attention opens his eyes to the fact that he might lose you. And this realization is often enough to make him miss you and value you in a way he didn't before. Men start missing you more when they realize that you're no longer seeking their approval or validation. You see, in any relationship, whether it's a romantic one or even a friendship, there's a natural tendency for people to crave affirmation. People want to feel seen, heard, and appreciated. When a man feels that a woman is constantly seeking his approval, it can be exhausting, and in some cases, it can even make him feel trapped. Now imagine a scenario where the woman in his life stops seeking his validation. She no longer looks for his approval before making decisions, whether big or small. She no longer asks for his permission to pursue her own interests, passions, or goals. This shift is powerful because it signifies that she has developed a strong sense of self. She doesn't need his constant approval to feel good about herself. The moment a man realizes that he is no longer the source of her emotional stability, something changes. For the first time, he starts to recognize that she is independent and self-sufficient. And let me tell you, this is a game changer. Men are drawn to women who are confident, who know what they want out of life, and who don't rely on them to feel complete. This independence is incredibly attractive, and it forces a man to start thinking about how he fits into the picture. When a man sees that you no longer need his validation, it hits him differently. It makes him reflect on how he treated you in the past. It forces him to look at the relationship from a different perspective. Why? Because in the beginning, he may have been used to you constantly checking in with him, asking for his opinions, or looking for reassurance. Now, you've stopped doing all of that, and he can no longer be the center of your emotional world. The attention, the affection, the energy you used to give so freely to him is now being poured into yourself, and he starts to miss that. At first, he might think that it's just a phase or that you're just going through a temporary change. But as time goes on, and he sees that you've actually found peace and happiness without him needing to be the one to provide it, it stirs something inside him. He might start to miss the days when you sought his opinion on everything, when you turned to him for advice, or when you would wait to hear his praise before making big decisions. He starts to miss the way you used to care so deeply about what he thought, the way you used to look to him for affirmation. In a sense, he begins to miss the emotional dependence that you once had on him. It may not be the healthiest dynamic, but it's one that men often grow accustomed to, and when it's no longer there, it leaves a void. It's not that he doesn't value you, but he realizes that the dynamic has shifted, and now he has to put in more effort if he wants to maintain that emotional connection. This change is profound because it forces him to realize that you're not the same woman you were before. You've evolved. You've grown. You've found your strength and independence. And that is incredibly attractive. He starts to notice how you're succeeding, how you're thriving without his constant approval. and it begins to awaken something in him. It challenges him to take a deeper look at how he values you and whether or not he has been fully appreciating what you bring to the table. Moreover, this newfound independence creates a sense of longing in him. He starts to feel like he has to chase after you now, just like he did in the early stages of the relationship when everything was fresh and new. But this time, it's different. The chase feels more meaningful because now it's not just about trying to win you over. It's about proving his worth. He has to show you that he deserves a place in your life, that he deserves your attention and affection. Ultimately, when a man realizes that you no longer need his validation, it makes him miss you. It makes him miss the days when you would eagerly seek his opinion, and it makes him question whether he's been taking your emotional needs for granted. And while this shift might not immediately bring him to action, it plants the seed in his mind that something has changed. He starts to feel the difference in your energy, and he starts to long for the connection you once had. So, when a man sees that you no longer need his approval to thrive, it opens his eyes. It's not just about the space it creates in the relationship. It's about him realizing that the connection he had with you was valuable, and it's now slipping away. And when he starts to miss that connection, he may just do whatever it takes to get it back. Men start missing you more when they realize they might lose you for good. There's something powerful about the realization that someone who has always been in your life, someone who has been a part of your routine, may no longer be there. It's easy for someone to take you for granted when they assume that you will always be around. This is the dangerous mindset that many men find themselves in when things are going well in a relationship. They get comfortable. They start to believe that no matter how they act, no matter how little effort they put in, you will always be there to stay. But let's talk about what happens when this dynamic shifts, when a man suddenly feels like he's about to lose you. When you start pulling away, when you're no longer constantly available, when you start setting boundaries, or when you simply stop accepting the bare minimum, that's when the tide starts to turn. That's when he begins to miss you. It's not just about the physical absence, but the emotional realization that someone who once adored them and gave them all their time and attention is starting to pull back. The moment a man feels like he's losing you, it triggers something deep within him. It forces him to confront his feelings and his actions. Up until now, he may have thought that you would always be there, no matter what. But when he starts to feel like that security is slipping away, it sends him into panic mode. The fear of losing someone who has always been a constant in their life is powerful. Men, just like women, don't always realize what they have until it's on the verge of slipping through their fingers. It's in these moments that they start to reassess their behavior and begin to value what they once had. They start asking themselves questions like, what if I've been taking her for granted? Or what if she really does move on and leave me behind? Now, it's important to understand that this doesn't necessarily mean a man is going to change overnight. He may not immediately start doing the things he should have been doing all along. But the realization that you might not be around anymore is a wake-up call. It's a jarring moment of self-reflection. It makes him stop and consider whether he's been giving you the attention, love, and respect that you truly deserve. The fear of losing you is often what propels him to finally see things from your perspective. This fear isn't just about physical loss. It's about the emotional disconnect that comes with it. Men are creatures of habit, and they get used to the routine and comfort of having someone in their life who is there for them, always available, always supportive. When that routine starts to change, when you start asserting your independence, when you begin to make your needs and desires known in a way that demands respect, they feel that shift. and it's unsettling. This fear can even create a sense of urgency in him. He may start reaching out more often, trying to rekindle the connection that he once took for granted. He may try to be more affectionate, more attentive, and more aware of your needs. In some cases, he may try to step up in a way he hasn't before because the thought of losing you is more painful than he expected. But let's be real for a second, not all men will react positively when they feel like they might lose you. Some men may get defensive, angry, or pull away even further. However, the ones who genuinely care about you will start to put in the effort once they realize that you're no longer going to tolerate being treated poorly. They will see that your absence is not just a physical one, it's emotional. You are no longer investing your time, energy, or emotions into someone who isn't reciprocating. You are choosing to preserve your own well-being, and that's something they can't ignore. Ultimately, the fear of losing you is what shakes a man out of complacency. It forces him to take a good, hard look at what he values in a relationship and whether he is willing to fight for it. For some men, this fear is the catalyst for change. It's the moment that sparks a shift in their mindset. They start to realize how much they actually care for you and how they don't want to lose the connection that they once took for granted. The absence of your presence in their life serves as a reminder of how important you are to them, even if they didn't fully appreciate it before. When a man realizes that he's about to lose you, it's a wake-up call. The fear of that loss is what begins to make him miss you in ways he didn't before. It's no longer just about having you around for convenience. It's about the genuine recognition that you are someone he doesn't want to live without. This is the moment when he begins to see your worth, and this is when the effort to win you back truly begins. Men start missing you more when they realize they can't get you as easily as they once could. It's simple but powerful. When something becomes too easy to obtain, we often take it for granted. It's human nature. We tend to value things more when they seem just out of reach, when we have to work for them, or when they're no longer guaranteed to be available. This dynamic plays out in relationships, especially when it comes to men and women. At first, when everything in a relationship feels easy and smooth, men might not fully appreciate the effort it takes to maintain that connection. You're always there, you're available whenever they need you, and your attention is always at their disposal. While that sounds ideal, it can create a sense of complacency. It gives them the false impression that you'll always be there, no matter what. That's when the effort starts to fade, and the relationship loses its spark. This is when it's easy for men to slip into a routine where they no longer feel the need to put in that extra effort because they believe you will be waiting for them no matter what. But when things begin to change, when you pull back or start setting boundaries, when they realize they don't have access to you 24/7, it catches them off guard. They begin to feel the shift, and that's when they start missing you more. It's no longer a given that you'll always be there when they need you. You're no longer the easy option. And that's exactly what makes them realize just how much they value you. When a man realizes he has to work for your attention and affection, it puts him in a position where he must step up his game. He can't just rely on his past actions to keep you around. He has to show you that he's worthy of your time and energy. This realization forces him to pay more attention to your needs, to be more thoughtful and considerate, and to make sure that you feel valued and appreciated. It's a wake-up call that they need to be more intentional about the relationship if they want to keep you in their life. This change in behavior is not just about missing your physical presence. It's also about the realization that he is losing something important in his life. It's about the emotional and mental void that starts to appear when you're not around as often. Men often take comfort in knowing that someone is always there for them, providing support and companionship. When they realize that's not guaranteed anymore, they feel a sense of loss, and yes, it makes them miss you. Now, you might be thinking, does this mean they only value me when they feel they might lose me? And while that can be true for some men, it's also a sign of how much they care, but just might not fully express it until they face the possibility of it slipping away. When they can't get you as easily, they start to appreciate the relationship more. They realize that the connection you share is valuable and worth maintaining. The absence of you forces them to do some emotional work, to confront the fact that they can't just take your presence in their life for granted. This process can bring a renewed sense of clarity in the relationship. Men who have been too comfortable or complacent may start to see things from a new perspective. They begin to recognize that a relationship requires effort from both sides, and that it's not just about getting what they want or taking you for granted. The absence of your constant availability forces them to reflect on their actions, to understand the value of the relationship, and to make the necessary adjustments to keep it going. It's also important to remember that this realization can trigger a sense of urgency. As a result, they may start acting differently, trying harder to regain your attention. They may start calling more often, showing more affection, being more thoughtful, or making efforts to engage with you in ways that they hadn't before. This is when the dynamic shifts. They can't just coast anymore. They have to actively work to show you that they're serious about you and that they don't want to lose the bond you share. In the end, the shift from being an easy option to something more valuable and elusive is what drives men to miss you more. When they can't just rely on their usual patterns or take your presence for granted, it forces them to put in more effort. The absence of your constant availability makes them realize how much you really mean to them, how much you bring to their life. That's when they begin to appreciate you on a deeper level, and that's when the feelings of missing you grow stronger. It's not just about your absence. It's about the work they now have to put in to get you back into their lives in the way they once had you. Men start missing you more when they experience the consequences of their actions, especially when those actions involve taking you for granted or treating you less than you deserve. Relationships are about respect, effort, and mutual care, and when one side fails to honor those elements, the other person starts to feel unappreciated. Men often don't realize the depth of this until they are faced with the reality of their actions, when they start losing what they took for granted. That is when they begin to miss you. At first, it might be easy to believe that everything is fine. He may not notice or may not show much appreciation for the little things you do. He might think that your presence is a given, something that will always be there. It's natural for people, especially men, to take for granted the consistency of someone who is always present, always caring, and always available. When you stop being there so readily, when you begin to pull back and set boundaries, it disrupts the pattern. This disruption, however small, forces him to realize that you're not just going to be there forever without the effort being reciprocated. For a man, the realization hits differently when he's faced with the absence of someone who was once a constant in his life. He starts noticing the things that were once so effortlessly part of his routine. The sound of your voice, your presence beside him, the way you used to care for him and others. When that's no longer automatic, he's forced to confront the fact that the things he took for granted are slipping through his fingers. Men, by nature, often don't realize the weight of what they have until it's not so readily available anymore. When a man's world is disrupted by your absence or by the distance you put between the two of you, he begins to understand the value of what he had. It's like taking a favorite object for granted until it's broken or lost. The absence of something that once felt constant can stir a sense of longing. In the case of a relationship, it can create a void that makes him yearn for your presence. This is the point where he starts reflecting on the relationship and what it truly meant to him, perhaps more than he ever did when things were going smoothly. The fact that you're no longer just an option, something that's always there whenever he needs it, can trigger feelings of loss. The attention he once received may now feel distant, and he begins to question why he took it for granted in the first place. He may not have fully understood how important your presence was in his life until he realizes it's not guaranteed anymore. In that moment of clarity, when he sees that your attention and time are no longer something he can rely on without effort, the realization hits that he's missed something he once had but didn't properly appreciate. Men also start to miss you more when they feel the absence of the emotional support you provided. Often, it's easy for men to focus on the surface level of a relationship, the fun moments, the good times, the physical connection. But the deeper emotional bond is something that can go unnoticed until it's not there anymore. You may have been someone who supported him through tough times, listened to him, and gave him emotional stability. When that emotional support is no longer available, he starts to feel vulnerable. He begins to realize that the strength of his emotional well-being was tied to the stability you brought into his life. The lack of that emotional safety net makes him recognize that he needs more than just the superficial aspects of a relationship. He needs someone who understands him, supports him, and makes him feel secure in ways that go beyond the physical. This absence can make him miss you more deeply than he ever thought possible. Men often don't realize how much they depend on emotional support until it's gone, and that's when the true depth of their feelings starts to emerge. The realization that his actions have consequences and the understanding that he cannot just take you for granted is a powerful trigger for a man to start missing you. He understands that relationships require balance and effort from both sides. When he has treated you as something to always be there without reciprocating that effort, he wakes up to the fact that he can't continue to be passive in the relationship. When he begins to miss the connection, it's not just about the lack of your physical presence, it's about the absence of something meaningful. His heart recognizes the void that you once filled, and that's when the desire to correct the imbalance in the relationship begins to grow. This absence creates a sense of longing that only intensifies with time. Men, in their own way, process emotions more slowly, but once they realize the impact of their actions, the effects are profound. It's not just about missing you as a person. It's about understanding the depth of the relationship, the balance that was once there, and the emotional connection they now recognize as essential to their well-being. When they feel the effects of losing you, they'll understand that it's time to act to show you that they value you and to ensure that the relationship is worth fighting for. Men start missing you more when they realize they are no longer the center of your world. Often, when a relationship begins, men feel secure in the knowledge that their partner is devoted to them, emotionally available, and always there when they need her. This sense of security can sometimes lead them to take the relationship for granted, thinking they are the top priority in your life. However, when the dynamic changes and they no longer hold that spot of importance, the shift in attention can have a profound impact on how they perceive the relationship. It's human nature to crave attention, validation, and affection. When a man starts to sense that his position in your life is no longer as significant as it once was, he experiences an unsettling feeling. He may have assumed that your dedication to him would always be unwavering, But when that changes and you start focusing on your own life, interests, and goals, it creates a noticeable void. That void, created by your newfound independence, your flourishing personal growth, or simply the fact that you're no longer putting all your energy into him, triggers a strong emotional response. This is when he begins to miss the attention, the validation, and the support that he once took for granted. The feeling of being less important can be a wake-up call for many men. It forces them to confront the reality that relationships are not one-sided. They require mutual effort, balance, and appreciation. When a woman pulls back and starts focusing on herself, it causes the man to reflect on what he's lost, the consistent love, care, and support he once received. The absence of that attention makes him realize how much he truly relied on it, even if he didn't fully appreciate it when it was there. In that moment, he starts to recognize that without your energy in his life, something is missing, a piece of the puzzle that he didn't value until it was gone. In addition to the emotional impact, men also start to miss you more when they realize they no longer have the same sense of stability and comfort. Often, women in relationships are the ones who offer emotional support, provide comfort during stressful situations, and keep things grounded. They are the ones who help keep the household or the relationship functioning smoothly. When a man loses that sense of stability and emotional warmth, it's like his foundation starts to crumble. The comfort he once took for granted, whether it was your kind words, your reassuring presence, or the way you took care of things when life got hectic, suddenly becomes a distant memory. The loss of that comfort makes him long for the days when everything felt more secure and balanced, and it drives him to miss you even more. Men also start missing you when they realize that you have other options in a life that doesn't revolve around them. When a man sees that you are flourishing in other aspects of your life, whether it's focusing on your career, spending time with friends, or pursuing new hobbies, it forces him to acknowledge that you don't need him as much as he thought. For some men, this realization hits hard because it challenges the notion that they are the primary source of fulfillment in your life. When you shift your focus away from him and invest in yourself, it causes him to reevaluate his position in your life. He begins to miss the attention he once got, the feeling that he was the center of your world, and the comfort of knowing you were always there. When he sees you thriving without him, it's a clear signal that he needs to step up his game if he wants to remain a part of your world. The absence of your presence and the life you built together creates a sense of longing that intensifies over time. As the days pass, he starts to realize how much he misses the connection you shared, the bond that once defined your relationship. The memories of the good times you had together become more vivid in his mind, and he begins to see the things he overlooked or took for granted. He starts to long for your companionship, your laughter, and the way you made him feel supported. The realization that he no longer has that in his life causes him to miss you more with each passing day. Finally, men miss you when they realize that you're no longer going to chase them or keep waiting for them to make the effort. When a woman reaches a point where she no longer begs for attention or chases after her partner, it can be a jarring realization for him. He may have been used to the idea that you would always be the one to initiate contact, to plan activities, and to make things work. But when you stop doing that, it forces him to take notice. The tables have turned, and now it's up to him to make the effort if he wants to keep you in his life. This shift in dynamics, when you stop waiting around and start living for yourself, is when a man truly understands the value of what he had. It's the absence of that energy and initiative that makes him miss you more. He realizes that he has to work for your attention, and that effort might come too late, leaving him with a sense of regret for not realizing your worth sooner.